BOE Meeting and the public budget hearing, April 29, 2019. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Avery? Here. Dr. Bashir Brown? Here. Mr. Gentile?
Here.
Ms. Goldberg? Here. Mr. Grant? Mr. Moore?
Here.
Dr. Parmenter? Here. Mr. Davis?
Here.
And Mrs. Clark?
Here. Can we all rise for the flag salute led by Mr. John Moore? Thank you. In accordance with Public Law 231, notices meeting was provided on request occurred in the Galloway Township Municipal Building on January 23rd, 2019. We have on the agenda an approval of minutes from April 8th, 2019. May I have a first to approve those minutes? Any abstentions? Any opposed? All in favor? Aye. Reading of communications, please.
Thank you, President Carmen, and good evening, everyone. We do not have any communications, so I will move into presentations, and it is my pleasure to introduce the Vice President of the Galloway Township Middle School Student Council, Andrew Craig. Welcome, Andrew.
Hi, thank you for having me today. So today in Student Council, recently we have donated 400 pounds of pops to Beacon Church as well as 20 bags of clothes to Beacon Church. I was able, as one of the main representatives of Student Council, to go to Beacon Church and unload all of the items and pasta to Beacon Church and was able to speak to Pastor out. And to say the least, he was very shocked at how much Student Council was going and the community itself to go for those less fortunate. And I think that's what really makes us a really good community as far as Galloway and how much we are willing to band together to give to our less fortunate. So I have to present today the proclamation from the U.S. House of Representatives from Congressman Jeff Andrew. It says, quote, upon being recognized for astounding scholastic and athletic excellence. So Congressman Jeff Andrew was able to come to our school to talk about, we had questions for him to read. We read to him from the school entirely, and that was compounded onto one sheet of paper, and representatives from each class came up with questions that they had from their classroom. So everybody's questions got answered, such as hard topics of the border wall and the Second Amendment right. So he gave his thoughts on that. He also gave his thoughts on the shutdown, and he said how none of the military should go unfunded without, or unfunded when the government does shut down, including the Coast Guard. So I thought that was interesting for Congressman Jeff Andrew to come, and I know Dr. G. Puncher, you were very interested in the presentation as well. So that is it for the recent. We are now planning to get the traveling museum for the military, or the mobile military museum as it's called, to come to our school and to show children, our peers, different military artifacts from World War II, Vietnam, Korea, Iraq, and Iran, and now me as a U.S. Naval Secret know how important these things are, that how all branches of the military, when they go out to serve, how important it is that we defend freedom and democracy around the world. So I think that this military museum is going to be very interesting for me and the rest of the student council. And we are now planning to, as Ms. Jumper has probably separation of NJSLA and placed in a park. As the student council, we have planned it. We have set all of the activities in place. We are now it's going to take place in May, leading up to the NJSLA to make our peers excited and motivated to do well on this test. Next, we are going to be doing our last road cleanup, which we're going to be cleaning down all of Galloway Road with help of the Galloway Township Public Service. And again, that's one of those other things that shows how much we are willing to go for our community and the drive that we have. So I'm really thankful for the Student Council. And lastly, we are going to be going to Monmouth University to tie in civics and social studies to Student Council, one of the foundations of Student Council, because we tie in the legislative, executive, and judicial branches all together into talks from the professors at Monmouth University, as well as getting tours of the campus. So I'm sure, and I know, it's going to be very pleasant and interesting. So that is all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crewmaker. I think we've seen you here for several years, and we've watched you growing up. I know at Reed's I've seen you as a little guy, and you should be very proud of the student you've become, and mom and dad too. It's really nice to see. It's really a fine example of all of our kids, within the district. It's just nice to see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's gone.
Mom.
There's not a lot of fun, not at all. Continuing in a very positive note about our students, we have a number of presentations. Some of you may be wondering, where did this full house come from? And so what I'd like to do is go over general how we work this, especially for those of you who have never been here before, when students are being acknowledged. So the president, Carmen, and myself will go to the microphone, and I will explain what the particular category is for the acknowledgement, and then whatever teachers or other staff members, administrators from that particular school, if you will come up and join us at the microphone. I will ask the staff member who is the leader of that group to make a brief statement about the activity, and then you will call the students' names. We have certificates for every student. Now this is the part, and these students really look like they're paying attention. I will remind you of this. When your name is called, you're going to come up to where we're standing and introduce the handshaking and get your certificate. And then you're going to come in the middle here, and Mr. Westcott, will you raise your hand? She is going to kind of give you some direction, is going to take a group picture. And she'll also, we know a lot of families, we know the phones and the iPads, you are welcome to take those photos as well. And then once one group is done, we will move on to the next group. And again, we will give you reminders as we go through this process. So, our first group for recognition this evening is students from GTMS and Smithville Elementary School for participating in the Odyssey Mind Tournament held on March 2nd. So if I could ask all those administrators and staff members, whether you were the actual coach or you were a volunteer, could I ask you to please come forward? And I will introduce, we have the principal of Smithville, Mr. Odyssey, the assistant principal, Mr. Rewardis. We have Mrs. Elia and Mrs. Hammer, also from Smithville. And then from GTMS, we have assistant principal, Mr. Webber. So we need one of you to come up and explain what Odyssey of the Mind is. Go for it. You go.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Odyssey of the Mind is a creative problem-solving competition that is done nationally and it's really big at the state level. So our GTMS team has competed quite a few times, and they competed in Division II. It came in 3rd place. Pretty tough competition. Once you're in Division II, so it's awesome that they did that. And then our Smithville team was a group of 7 fifth graders, and this was their first year competing. And they came in 1st place on the regional level and moved on to the state tournament where they competed and came in 6th place. But a great showing, and we had a lot of fun. Odyssey is all about teamwork and student-centered work. Basically, students are hands-off and they do it all themselves. So that's even more of an accomplishment. I'm really proud of it. Elijah Balta. Billy Devine. Our volunteers, Gina Everly, Dr. Margaret Lewis, and Angela Lorette, and Lynn Walter. Team, Rita Caparelli. Haley Dentrick. Aaron O'Hara. Elsa Sprouse. Christmas Pishnick. Lucas DeGenero. Sean Nettle. Our volunteers are Sarah Caparelli, Jennifer DeGenero, and Jennifer Glasgow.
Thank you so much. So let's all go and get a nice picture. So Ms. Westcott, you need some everybody needs to get in.
Good job, Tony.
Students of the whole certificates of special year front row. Next, we are pleased to recognize spelling bee winners from the Roman Rogers and EMS. So if I can have any administrators or staff from those two schools come forward. And joining us is Mr. White from the middle school, and also joining us is Mrs. Gruber from Old.
Hello, everyone. Our spelling bee started locally here at our school, Lord Rogers, and we have our top 3 winners that we then sent on to the local spelling bee, which was held this year, the South Jersey local bee, on the 16th of March, and it was at the Pauline J. Petway Elementary School. Say that 4 times now, see that. So here are our winners from Lord Rogers. I'd like to start with first place winner, Maya Suneha. Winner is Avril Chavez Cologne. And our third place winner was Amelia Babno.
Good evening, everyone. Here at the middle school, we had our school bee on February 25th, and then the students moved on to the same spelling bee where all the students attended, which is the South Jersey local bee at Petway Elementary School. I am going to start with the first place person. I would also like to state that this student, that I'm going to call it Love, she also placed 4th overall in our South Jersey local bee. Amari Pekin.
Second place, Jarrell Muravilla. And third place, Joseph Delanos.
opportunity to see the projects, experiments, the wonderful work of our middle school science club and 7th grade advanced science students. So we have, Ms. White, you're just having a trio this evening and getting to stay up with us. But we also, first, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Summers, science teacher and advisor for this program.
So this is my last science fair at GTMS. I'm retiring the end of this year, and I'm proud to say we went out on top this year. I've been doing science fair since 1992, and a lot of former students, I'm proud to say, have become engineers and physical therapists, and one of my former students here, Bashar is asking what she did. I did my own weather, she said. So it gives us some for the world and our future, and get to look at those projects. They've done amazing things. It encompasses next-gen science standards, and the kids really learn through their struggles and their failures, and kept going forward, and that's really what propelled them into place. We had 10 winners at Stockton that placed, and 7 that went on to Delaware Valley. We're really proud of them. Also, I can't do that without mentors, and Professor Lewis is here, who helped guide Kayla and all the kids. Roseanne Weiss is in the back, who's been one of my mentors for over 20 years. She has mentored students in the district, and I plan on being a mentor in my retirement, and I'll always be involved with science fair because I see the value of what the kids learn through this program. So we're going to call them up, and then I'll also let you know with their places. So
We don't have to
I'm
figure it out.
going to call the honorable mention students. They were at Stockton. By the way, there's almost 500 students that competed at Stockton. So the competition was really tough there. They did an awesome job. So honorable mention, chemistry, Faye de Blasio. Benjamin Lord. Madison and Health, Mia McCall. Space science, Alex Newby. Third place winners, and I'm proud to say that some of these kids are also my science fair club kids, and Kara Lou did science fair 2 years in a row. Her first year, she didn't win anything. I'm always hurt when a kid has tears, but she came back second year and won third place. Kara Lou. Second place winners, the following students went on to Delaware Valley Science Fair. And the competition at Delaware Valley is really tough. All the kids there were first and second place winners in the schools that get sent to Delaware Valley from the Philadelphia region, South Jersey, and all of Delaware. So it's really tough to win up there, but I'm really proud that they've gone there to that level. And the whole guys quest with the team project with Celine Tran and Sage. Also, Nicole, it's her second year. She wants to be a pharmacist, and 2 years she's been doing her projects related to pharmacy. So come on, team project. thank you for our luxury bus ride that we had. It was awesome. And Autumn did science fair. I have a program back there I had her in 6th grade at Record Brand. So it's cool that she's paying it for our next generation. We're first place winners at Stockton, really hard to do. Medicine and health, Taylor Cooper. Stockton University, work in a lab looking at skulls and pelvic bones, and interested in forensic anthropology. And Professor Lewis will tell you she was doing college-level work on her own. Professor Lewis guided her, but she did all that work herself and won first place out of Stockton. IT guy in my classroom, as well as he could can crack passwords. He's definitely going to be a computer guy working in Annalise Smiles also won first place in biochemistry. She also won a special award from Stockton, $50 gift card, Amazon gift card from ACCC. For her biochemistry project on scouts. Alright, and Logan Saltis at Delaware Valley won second place at Delaware Valley, a huge accomplishment. He's also invited to apply to Broadcom Masters, which is kind of a science fair. I guess they judge them online, and then we'll invite a certain number of students to Washington, D.C. But it's given to the top projects at junior level. So Logan won because his project kept failing over and over and over again, and along with the goals, I had to repeat it with failures as well, and I said, you're going to win because you failed. Make sure you tell the judges that, and they did, and that's why they were so successful. So all the kids did an amazing job. They worked on these projects since October through March, dedicated, hardworking, really proud of all they accomplished.
Congratulations, everyone. Fabulous.
of the many different ways our students are so knowledgeable and talented and dedicated, and of course I would be remiss if I did
tonight's board meeting, which is the public budget hearing. And then following that, we move into regular business. You are all encouraged and invited to stay for the next two portions of the board meeting. If you prefer not to, this is a good time to move. But again, learn about your school budget if you'd like to stay. Thank you. Well, good evening again, everyone. I dare say the majority of the people remaining in the room either helped build this budget or have seen one of the prior 3 or 4 presentations we have made. So I am still going to click on every slide, but will not go into every single detail. So you know the presentations we've already given are already on our website, as is our user-friendly budget. Tomorrow, this presentation, as well as the advertised budget, will be posted once the board actually votes on the budget. So, these are all the different things that guide budget development. I am not going to read them to you. I will tell you. They are based on the needs of our school district. In one way, as defined by our 3-year district goals. In another way, looking at the various data sources we have about our students, our staff, mandates, looking at prior year budgets and where does the current year budget stand when we're looking ahead to the next year. Both this year as well as over the years, the voices of various stakeholders, be it residents who do not have children in the district, as well as parents, community members, and certainly our board as well. One of the things we like to point out is we believe we work very hard to be both effective and efficient. The State Department of Education also rates the budget through an efficiencies matrix. On the left side, it's good to be below the state average, according to the state. On the right side, it's good to be above the state average. We meet all of these efficiencies that are identified by the New Jersey Department of Education and State and analyzed through looking at each year's budget. This is the document, and obviously you can't read this, but this is what will become the advertised budget. And it lists all the major budget accounts and the total dollar amount for those accounts. Again, the purpose was not for you to read this evening, but to let you know that this is what gets publicly advertised. So some budget basics, and there are a few things I'm going to highlight. We've continued to have stable enrollment, and by that I mean approximately the same number of students. We do have transiency, where students are moving in or students are moving out, but the overall enrollment has stayed the same. One of the things that is positive, both last year going into this year and this year going to next year, is the grade levels have increased. Although I do want to point out, compared to 9 years ago, the grade levels in the township are still $1 billion less. State aid also was increased, and that is a good thing. I will do a few pieces of information to show you that it's not quite as good as it sounds. Some budget basics include the fact that by law, the district is allowed to grow the budget by 2% of the tax levy. And that is a decision each year the board has to make. Are we going to go to that 2% tax levy? And the board, with the input from our administrative team, looks at a lot of factors. Again, back to those needs, the goals, the mandates. What are other factors, such as the ratables? Trying to balance the needs of the school district, but also understanding the community and the taxpayers. So, one of the things that we can show you is that from the current year budget to next year, and mind you, it's about a $65 million budget, we are allowed to grow the budget, the tax levy portion, by the $651,000. Now, in any one of our homes, $600,000 would be hitting the lottery. But in a $60 million budget, while it is an increase from one year to the next, it only covers so many things. If you think of expenses, I'll use transportation as an example. Any year that the district does not go to this 2% cap, that is what becomes banked cap. Now, over the years, people have confused this concept. Banked cap is not money. It's not a savings account that Ms. Nixon can drive to the bank and withdraw money. But rather, it's the ability to grow the budget above this 2%. In recent years, we have not gone to the 2%. So we had this $651,000, we are increasing the budget. We also could have increased the budget by this $320, almost $5,000. And when you have increases in health care, you can also go above this 2% cap. And that would have given the board another almost $500,000. So when we submitted the budget, we had available this $1.46 million. We recommended the budget and was approved by the county office is $651, the 2%. We could have increased the budget and the levy by another $810,000, and this budget did not do that. So the board has options without any voting from the general public to increase the budget for next year in 3 different ways. The board is using one of those ways. We also want to point out to you that state aid did increase. However, based on the state's own formula for what it costs to educate a child, the state has underfunded us in the current year and looking ahead to next year. This is a very detailed slide. I am not going to read it to you. Basically, for 1920, this current state government looks at something called equalization aid. And they use a formula that says it costs $566 more per pupil to educate a child next year than it does in the current year. And then there's a lot of multiplication going on here. And again, the governor put a lot more money into school funding. However, if you look again at the number of our children and what we should have gotten based on the state's own calculation, we were underfunded. So if you look at this box that's highlighted, if you take the $566 increase by 3,490 pupils, that is $1.975 million. That's how much more of state aid we should have received by the state's own formula. This is what we got, $750,000. Again, it's an increase, and we are grateful for that. But it is still not equaling what the state says on its own that we should be getting. And that is one of the main reasons I believe our board does choose for next year to go to cap. This is a list of cost-saving measures. On the left-hand side, things we have done over the years. On the right-hand side, newer things. Again, I am not going to read these to you. This will be posted. These hit every category: personnel, facilities, instruction, curriculum, professional development. Because when we are making decisions about the budget, whether it's how we're saving money, what's staying in the budget, or what is not staying in the budget, we look at both the instructional and non-instructional side. One of the things that you hear a lot about are government mandates, and are they funded? We absolutely say they are not. And for example, again, looking ahead to next year, there are changes in the New Jersey student learning standards, and the state assessment has once again changed. In fact, Andrew did a wonderful job of mentioning the name of that new test. So one of the examples in next year's budget is over $100,000 in materials for writing because of the changes that have happened in the standards and the testing. There is also a lot of legislation that happens that we are required to do things, be it on the non-instructional side like lead testing or panic be it on the instructional side, the next-gen science standards, the financial literacy, which is a new one, and any number of things. So what is in the budget? We've gone into this detail at many meetings. On the very positive side, we are maintaining the programs and services that we have, and that does include things like reasonable class size, programs for special needs kids along the continuum, services and types of programs, intervention for general education children that are experiencing difficulties. On the non-instructional side, it hits everything. Safety and security, which I know is forefront in everyone's mind. Facilities, both regular maintenance as well as special projects. So one of the things that happens is every administrator in the district puts in budget requests. And I will say our administrative team did a great job of asking, based on input from their staff, based on different meetings, very legitimate and reasonable requests. But we could not fit them all in that 2% tax levy cap. So as I mentioned before, there were things that were not included in the budget. Maybe it was a facilities project that was included and another one was not. Maybe the original amount we asked for supplies was reduced. In some areas we kept part, but did not keep all. Some personnel requests were funded, some were not. And then certainly based on analysis of information from people like our benefits advisors, liability insurance, and working with the Greater Ag Regional Transportation, the business administrator is able to make adjustments. So we just like to point out that there was over $2 million of requests that we could not fund in the budget, even going to cap. Tax impact, and I will use this moment to say, I am making this presentation, but I do not do these calculations. All that credit goes to Mrs. Nixon, who is very well assisted by Mrs. Pakula, our assistant to the business administrator. So this is a calculation of the tax impact at the 2% tax levy. So I'll point to this line, a home assessed at $200,000. The tax impact for the year is $27.38. We do want to note that that is the local part of the budget. Everyone knows that we are in a regional for the high school district. The high school district is also going to the 2% tax levy cap, just as we are. However, because of the way the regional tax levy is divided, Galloway is actually getting a reduction. So when you take our increase of $27 a year and the Greater Ag decrease of over $60 a year, a decrease, the net decrease for Galloway taxpayers for both Galloway Township Public Schools pre-K to 8 and the Greater Ag Harbor 9 through 12 High School is a decrease in taxes of $42.02 for the year. Budget process today on the left, lots and lots of work, lots and lots of meetings. Tonight is a big next step, making this presentation. There will be an opportunity for board comment and question as well as public comment and question, and then the board has a resolution on which it needs to vote. And then, as I previously mentioned, the user-friendly budget gets posted on the district website within 48 hours. I don't know if it was as short as you would like, but that is an encapsulated version of the 2019-2020 budget. And I want to thank those administrators that are again here this evening who both worked on the budget and came out to support it.
So continuing on with number 5, the public budget hearing. I'm actually just going to read this because it's so important to get the numbers out. Be it resolved to approve the school district budget for the 2019-2020 school year as approved by the Executive County Superintendent of the School as follows. Total general fund, the budget is $62,535,496, of which the local tax levy is $33,208,335. Total special revenue fund, budget of $4,113,505, of which zero is the local tax levy. Total debt service fund, $209,138, of which the local tax levy is $127,504. Therefore, a total budget of $66,858,139, of which $33,335,839 is the local tax levy. Be it further resolved to acknowledge that the 2019-2020 budget as described above results in the general fund tax levy of $33,208,335 and a debt service fund tax levy of $127,504. Be it further resolved pursuant to code, budgeted travel expenses do not exceed $50,000. Also pursuant to code, the maximum dollar amounts for public relations and professional services have been established and are detailed in the appropriations section of the 2019-2020 budget. Can I have a motion to approve item 5 as read?
So moved. Second.
Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Dr. Bashir Blau? Ms. Goldberg?
Yes.
Dr. Permenter?
Yes.
Vice President Dace?
Yes.
And President Klein?
Yes. Moving on to superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, and I again want to thank the board for your support and all your time and effort. I will turn it over to Ms. Alcala.
Good evening, everybody. This month, I work with the superintendent on employee issues and student issues.
Thank you. The next item is an update on the New Jersey CUSAC Instruction and Program District Improvement Plan. You may recall that we missed the CUSAC requirement by 1 point, and therefore are required to have an improvement plan in place. And that 1 point was related to test scores. And those of you that were present when we gave the report from the spring 2018 administration of what was then PARC, know that we were not as pleased with the results as we have been. So long before the state law said you must write this plan, we are always working on this. Student achievement is always a district goal. So I'm just going to highlight some of the things that are in the plan. I mentioned earlier an example related to Writer's Workshop. And this is an instructional technique that has been around for many years, and we have done different versions of it. But we are bringing more standardization to the version, have enhanced professional development, and are purchasing all new materials. Some of this has already been done in both special ed as well as piloted in general ed. And in the 1920 school year, all of that work will be completed through all the grades. This requires some changes to the curriculum and pacing guide. And I know that Dr. Hinman, the director who oversees that, has already started to meet with the pilot teachers to get that input. Professional development is a major part of any initiative we do, but certainly something like this. Again, the director is responsible, and certainly one of our TLFs who is here with us this evening, Ms. Atkins, will be very actively involved in that. And all of that was related to increasing the passing percentile, the percentage of students that pass the test. And we are looking to increase that percentage by 5%. The next set is the same type of information as related to math. And that's Dr. Mrs. Napoli, again, working with others. And again, much of this is in place. Looking at professional development related to number of talks and math fluency. Working with PLC groups to look at the standards and to refine some of the instructional units. Yes, we have a math program, but the textbook is not the curriculum. So looking at the standards and doing some refinement there, based a lot on the experiences of the teachers. Now we switch back to language arts. In addition to the passing percentage, there is something called a student growth percentile, that a mean, a form of an average, is calculated. And for both math and language arts, we are looking to increase this mean by 5 points. And really, we're looking at a lot of the same things. The writer's workshop on language arts. Additionally, there is an aspect of social studies called research stimulation tasks that takes issues that very often connect naturally to the social studies curriculum and efforts with that combination of writing in the content area. Again, the pacing and professional development. On the math side, purchasing a book called Mathematical Mindsets and working with our teachers and PLCs. Adding some new online resources that have been tried this year, and we've received a lot of positive feedback and positive data, as well as we will continue to participate in a pilot using EdConnect, and this is actually something the state is looking at doing, where the test will become adaptive, so that when a student answers initial questions, if they are really struggling, because this is technologically done, it can adjust. So you can better assess exactly where a child is, and perhaps a student who finds early questions difficult will not shut down. So we will be piloting that on the mathematics side with our benchmark assessments. Tests that are already given students, so we will not add assessments, they will just have a different aspect to them. So that is a plan that a few items down the board does need to approve so that it can be submitted to the Department of Education. Then we have the HIB report from March 7th to April 3rd, and then the resolution to approve what I presented.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to accept the HIB report for the reporting period of March 7, 2019 through April 3, 2019, and to approve the submission of the plan that Dr. Jacob just submitted?
So moved.
Is there any board comment?
I have a question on the timeline. On the timelines that have passed, did we meet the mark? Example, the second one is March 2019, then the next one is July 2018, February 2019.
Dr. Carmina, anything that is listed with a past date absolutely has been done, yes.
Any other board comment? Any public comment? May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery? Yes. Dr. Bashir Bluff? Ms. Goldberg?
Yes.
Dr. Parmenter? Vice President Dace?
Yes.
And President Carmen.
Yes, moving on to curriculum instruction, please.
Thank you, President Carmen. Yes, in this section this evening, we have opportunities for students to travel to other schools to see an assembly program. We have home instruction, homeschooling, Rowan University fieldwork students, some of the trips that our Vice President of Student Council mentioned, also some other experiences for students, traveling to Apsagami, the drill and step team going to a number of events, as well as a performing group coming here to Galloway for the Reeds Road Extravaganza, which is their cultural festival. It is a nighttime event.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve items 1 through 9 under curriculum instruction?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any board comment? Any public comment? Yes, if you can come to the microphone.
Question? What does it take to homeschool a child?
Just, if you could just back up a second. I just need you to say your name and what, no, not back up. And your Galloway resident.
He's in 4th grade.
Okay.
He'll be in 5th and 6th when he graduates. What do I have to do to facilitate homeschooling?
And I want to make, sometimes people, home instruction is where we provide a tutor. That generally happens if a child is ill. Homeschooling is where the parent is saying, I am assuming full responsibility for my child's education. And the most basic step is writing a letter to me that then goes on the Board of Education agenda, and then it really does become the parent's responsibility. Some parents will ask us for resources, and we have a lot available on our website and things of that nature. That is the basic step.
When do I need to do this?
It can be done at any time.
Okay, so I should start the process now?
I will say this, whenever a parent writes a letter, whatever date they wish it to happen, that can happen effective immediately, and it gets approved on the very next board meeting. Very often when a parent does write that letter, we will reach out and find out if there's something we can do to help.
Sure. Is there any other public comment? May I have roll call, please?
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes.
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Dr. Sherry Blau?
Yes.
Mr. Noor?
Yes.
Dr. Parmenter?
Yes.
Vice President Dace?
Yes.
And President Carmen.
Yes. Finance and school operations, please.
I'll turn the agenda over to Ms. Nixon.
Thank you. First item is a Finance Committee meeting update given by Chairperson John Noor.
Yes, good evening, everyone. We reviewed the bill list April 29th, all in order. We reviewed the financial reports, cash equals in cash, and it was in balance to the balance sheet. We reviewed some RFP updates, talked about preschool private providers, and talked about facilities, additional payments. Forgetting that or not, problem with an elevator operator company. And the transfers that we reviewed were fine.
Thank you. Richard, do you have any other comments on that?
Nothing.
Thank you.
Thank you. The first item is 1 through 7 to approve the monthly financial reports and bill lists for April and March 2019. Resolution 8 is to approve Ms. Invento, tuition payable student. Resolution 9 is to approve Dr. Jeffrey Gogg, school physician, for the 1920 school year. No other proposals were received. Resolution 10 is to approve renewal with Computer Solutions, Inc. for software support for the 1920 school year. Resolution 11 and 12 are to approve out-of-district placements. And resolutions 13 and 14 are to approve transportation resolutions, including contract with Atlantic County Special Services, as well as the second emergency bus evacuation.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve items number 1 through 14 under finance and school operations?
So moved. Second.
Is there any board comment? Any public comment? May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Noor?
Yes.
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery? Dr. Bashir Blau? Ms. Goldberg?
Yes.
Dr. Parmenter? Vice President Dace?
I was abstaining on the bill list, item number 7, page 15, bill list, PO number 902635. Yes, on everything else.
And President Carmen.
Yes. Facilities and maintenance, please.
The first item is an informational item. Our first job conference for the Arthur Wren Elementary School, Pomona Preschool new generators are scheduled for this Wednesday, May 1st at 1:30 p.m. The next item is to approve disposal of the following asset listed, to be listed first on GovDeals website. And that is the only resolution.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve item 1 under facilities and maintenance?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any board comment? Any public comment? May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Dr. Parmenter? Mrs. Avery? Dr. Bashir Blau? Ms. Goldberg?
Yes.
Mr. Noor?
Yes.
Vice President Dace?
Yes.
And President Carmen.
Yes. Community use of school facilities, please.
Thank you. We just have one item this evening related to the Boy Scouts using the cafeteria at Reach Road.
Can I have a motion to approve item 1 under community use of school facilities?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any board comment? Any public comment? May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Dr. Bashir Blau? Mrs. Avery? Ms. Goldberg?
Yes.
Mr. Noor?
Yes.
Dr. Parmenter? Vice President Dace?
Yes.
And President Carmen.
Yes. Personnel, please.
Thank you. Including in these items, we have a family leave request. We have the hiring of our Musica as school counselor. That should be Roland Rogers Elementary School. My apology for that error. Then we have several approval, Jackie Diadamo, an in-class resource teacher, Lisa Bastide, 6th grade math teacher, Mia Talone, part-time intervention teacher. Those items 3, 4, and 5 are for the remainder of this year. We then have appointment of Jen Nash as a 12-month secretary, Arthur Rand. We then have a series of substitutes, both those that meet the 5-year plus experience as well as non-certified and certified without the 5 years experience and the rates. And then we have a custodial substitute working as well.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve items 1 through 8 under personnel?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any board comment? Any public comment? May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Mr. Nord?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Dr. Bashir Blau?
Yes.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes.
Dr. Preventer?
Yes.
Vice President Days?
Yes.
And President Carmen.
Yes. Supplemental positions.
Yes, in this section, we have items for the Title I mentoring session in the middle school, which has Title I funding, supplemental instruction for students' IEPs, and staff for the school safety forum that was funded through Title I.
Can I have a motion to approve items 1 through 3 under supplemental personnel?
So moved.
Is there any board comment? Any public comment? May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Dr. Preventer?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Dr. Bashir Blau?
Yes.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes.
Mr. Nord?
Yes.
Vice President Days?
Yes.
And President Carmen.
Yes. Job descriptions?
Yes, we have 5 job descriptions listed for first reading. The first one is Technical Service System Support Technician. This is a new job description, but does not require a new employee, an existing employee. It's a change of responsibilities. We then have revisions for Student Data and Technical Services Assistant, Senior Technology Help Desk Technician, Facilities Department Administrative Assistant, and Teaching and Learning Facilitator. Again, other than the TLF or Special Ed, all of these are existing positions.
And will these require second reading as well?
As per practice, we always do a second reading, yes.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to approve item 1 under job descriptions?
So moved.
Is there any board comment? Any public comment? May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Dr. Preventer?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Dr. Bashir Blau?
Yes.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes.
Mr. Nord?
Yes.
Vice President Days?
Yes.
And President Carmen.
Yes. Moving on to policy, please.
Yes, all of these policies were first readings at the last board meeting. Wellness and nutrition, HIB related to private schools for students with disabilities, administering medication, health exams regulation, missing, abused, and neglected children, and drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. And that one in particular was related to vaping and electronic and other types of paraphernalia.
Thank you, Mr. Policy Committee. Jim, Alexa, Sherry, any other comments? No comments? Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to approve items 1 through 6 under policy, please?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any board comment? Any public comment? May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Mr. Nord?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery? Dr. Bashir Blau?
Yes.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes.
Dr. Preventer?
Yes.
Vice President Days?
Yes.
And President Carmen.
Yes. Notice of public meetings.
Yes, we have a meeting next Monday, May 6th, and then again a board meeting on May 20th. As noted there, for both May 6th and May 20th, the first item of business will be a presentation related to the district configuration study, and there will be an opportunity for public comment. At the May 6th meeting, there will be a limited amount of regular business, and then May 20th will be a full regular meeting. The extravaganza mentioned earlier in the agenda, the date and time for that is this week, and then all of the spring concerts are listed as well as the retirement reception, and that flyer will be out this week.
And also just to note, on the May 13th date for the county meeting, Mr. Noor is being recognized for his years of service at that meeting, which is why it was moved.
Excuse me, and then also just to add, if any board members would like to attend that meeting, please let Mrs. Schwartz know or myself, and we will register us all as a group.
Okay. Is there any other public comment to come before the Board of Education this evening?
I have a comment.
Sometimes I just don't know where the sound is coming from. Sorry.
At the county meeting, I'm going to be recognized as a certified board member first year.
Oh, nice. Very nice. I didn't know that. Thank you. So again,
2020 school calendar. And I'm just going to go over a few features because they are different than what we've done with past calendars. One of the things that just about everyone knows in this room, it's been a long time since we've had a full week for spring break. We have been doing a Thursday, Friday, Monday. And over the last several years, and looking ahead to next year, everyone in the constituency, except Puerto Republic, is going to Friday and then the next full week. And that creates circumstances for our staff and families here in our district when they either have children or employees in the high school district or the neighboring districts. So the proposed calendar being presented this evening includes a Friday and then full week for spring break. In the fall, we have moved the fall staff development day to coincide with election day. So the students will have off, the staff won't. That is really being done as a safety and security measure since 2 of our schools are used for elections. Additionally, while many years we have been closed on Columbus Day, that day will remain open. We've also closed many years on Veterans Day, and that day is listed as open. I want to take a moment to note, in no way, shape, or form is that meant to disrespect our veterans. I spoke to some veterans last year and again last week, and the most important things the veterans with whom I communicated was not whether or not the children and staff are in school, but whether or not they are learning what it means to be a veteran and why we celebrate and honor our veterans. Why those 2 federal holidays were selected is simply because the fall already has many other holidays off, and it really interferes with the continuity of instruction. So by recommending remaining opening on those days, we can still have the last day as Tuesday, June 16th. Additionally, on the calendar, there is detail related to if there is 1 emergency closing, what will the makeup day be? If there's 2 emergency closings, what will the makeup day be? With it being somewhat of an interesting winter this past year, I got a lot of feedback that it would be helpful for people to know that on the front side. So all of those details are listed on this proposed calendar.
Thank you. I'm just going to go for comments first. Is there any board comments based on that calendar?
I have one. I've always felt the past that having Veterans Day off. Is it possible, or is there any way some veterans can attend that day in all schools to explain to the students exactly what a veteran is? Because I don't think a lot of students, the younger generation, have no idea what a veteran is. And the same as Columbus Day, how many students really know what Columbus Day is all about?
I'll speak very specifically to Veterans Day. Mr. Days, we already have programs at the schools, but certainly if we are open, the expectation will be that those programs will be expanded, and we will continue to invite the veterans in. In addition to that, the Township does a Veterans Day ceremony, and very often the student council president and vice president are the only people from our school community there. I'm not sure, Andrew, were you there this year? So one of my hopes is to connect with the Township to talk about being a greater participant in that ceremony, whether it be a performance group, because we will be here, we can take a bus of students to that ceremony and enhance that experience as well. So that is a commitment you have on my part in this public
As
meeting.
long as the students learn exactly what a veteran is and what he's done for his country.
And I'd like to echo Mr. Dees' comments and actually take it a step further. It will be my expectation that I receive a listing of what each school is going to be doing on Veterans Day,
Yes.
so that we, the board, can attend if we'd like to do so.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
As a parent, I would like to know those dates. Is that possible? I'm sorry, I mean, for me, again, that is my son. He is in Sea Cadets. He is going to Michigan in May, and in June, he's going to Virginia.
Are you talking about this May and June?
Yes.
We're talking about, this is next year's
I
calendar.
get it next year, but understand that my son is serving, and my father is a veteran. And as Mr. Dace has pointed out, it's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
It is a very big sacrifice.
So what is your
As a
question?
parent, to put my son and to know my father has gone out there and my grandfather, I would like to know these dates because I would like, as a parent, to know what schools and where we're at with these assemblies. Because you don't tell us. You don't tell us. I don't get notification. I get a little blip on Facebook. I would like to attend
So what are you asking for right now, Mrs. Cremino?
that parents are told.
Absolutely. So you're asking the same list we said at the board, publicize that more? Absolutely.
I think the expectation is if the school is going to be open on Veterans Day, the expectation
No,
would
I don't
be that
mind
they be on that day. I'm just saying that the presentations will be that day.
I just want a notification as a parent. Can I not have that?
I don't believe anybody said you couldn't. I think she said that we're going to send that to the parents, whatever the board
I
gets
haven't
notified.
ever been notified. And Andrew's been in this school system for 9 years now. And I've served for 6 years.
Okay.
I think I honor Mr. Deese's comment, that, can we not, these children who want to go into the military should understand what it is.
And there are programs at the schools, Mrs. Cremaker, every year. You may not be aware of them, but I certainly know here at the middle school, the student council is one of the leaders of those programs. So they do happen in some version of all schools, but what we're talking about is...
Invited to the middle school programs as parents.
I'm not saying parents have been invited. I said there have been programs to educate the children. And what I also am saying is because we are going to open, we are going to assess what we are doing, how we can further enhance it to make it a more community-based event, both here in the building and also having some of our children go to the township presentation. So I'm not sure what else you'd like me to say. You're more than welcome to contact me, but the commitment is being made in a public meeting that is being recorded.
I would just like to be notified as a parent, as someone who has a child in the military who wants to be in the military. I would like to be notified because I think it is a nice gesture, especially being a daughter of a veteran
I am as well.
and a child who wants to go into the military. It would be nice that we're allowed to be invited to see these veterans speak to our children. It's just nice.
That is happening.
Is there any other public comment?
No, she has her comments first.
Can I motion to approve item number 1 under all business?
So moved. Second.
Any board comment? Any further public comment? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Dr. Parmenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Avery?
Yes.
Dr. Bashir Abab? Ms. Goldberg?
Yes.
Mr. Noor?
Yes.
Vice President Dace?
Yes.
And President Harmon?
Yes. Is there any other new business this evening? Mr. Cremaker, do you have any final comments for us?
No, I do not think so. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Parmenter?
I have a couple comments. Congratulations, even though the kids are gone, but congratulations to the students who did such an awesome job. And, you know, what I really noticed about their awards is like they like hustled down to get their award. And I just think it's so cool that they were so excited about getting an award for the hard work that they put into their projects. And I just really, really like that enthusiasm. So, thank you to the instructors and to the advisors and to the students for making it all happen.
Thank you. Mrs. Avery? Cool. Mr. Gentile? Dr. Bashir Abab?
I just want to second that. Congratulations to all of the students. As Mrs. Summers mentioned, I remember fondly
Mr. Gates? Thank you. And I had nothing as well. We do have a executive session this evening? Be it resolved that pursuant to Section 7A of the Open Public Meeting Act, of this public meeting of the Galloway Township Board of Education, the following subject matters to be discussed in the session of the board closed to the public, which is personnel and/or potential litigation. It is presently anticipated that the items mentioned in this resolution can and will be disclosed to the public as soon as possible according to the circumstances. Action may or may not be taken. Can I have a motion to close the public session? All in favor? Meeting adjourned.